Zach, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so glad to have you on.
Yeah, so happy to be here, Jessica. Thanks.
So to kick us off, tell me your name, your position, and the company you work for.
Yeah, my name is Zach Sarkis, and I'm the founder of FLWR City Collective. And we're a small seed-to-sale cannabis business focusing predominantly on CBD products at the moment, just given the legal market, but definitely interested to work with all things cannabis as we're able to.
That's awesome. And what brought you to starting FLWR City Collective?
A few things. I really told myself I wasn't going to start a CBD business, but I came up with the vision for FLWR City, like the logo and all that stuff in like early 2018. And over the years of doing cultivation and consulting for a bunch of farmers, I really realized like just because you can grow the best quality product in the market doesn't mean that you're going to have sales. And watching the extreme market fluctuations over the years, it became clear that brand concept, et cetera, like there's a doorway and a platform for distribution. And so created this platform as a way to bring high quality products to market, being farmer facing and supporting small scale and craft industry in New York State.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think there's a ton of other hemp farms in New York right now. I think you're in small company there.
Yeah, it's a good question. Last year there was over 700 licenses granted through New York State, which is double the amount from the year before. I'm not exactly sure how many people cultivate this year. I bet you there's still 100 folks who grew this year, but it's pretty spread out. And I know a lot of people scaled back. When I actually know some people who scaled up, which is crazy. Some people went big this year, which is crazy. If you anyone who's been in the industry the past few years know that like the prices have bottomed out, and unless you have a direct to consumer market, it's like not worth doing it.
Yeah, very true. CBD is not an easy industry to be in right now by any stretch of the imagination.
Totally.
So you mentioned consulting with farmers. Tell me a little bit about your professional background that brought you to this.
Yeah, I have been doing all sorts of stuff. I've worked in like customer service most of my life in some way, shape, or form. I've also, the past decade, I've taught and studied yoga and other forms of, body work and kind of personal health care. And yeah, but the cannabis industry really, I started trimming in 2012. I've trimmed a handful of seasons on the West Coast. 2015, I moved out west to work on a craft kombucha project where we're going to infuse cannabis into kombucha. And that didn't end up rolling out the way we imagined, but I landed safely in the medical markets of Oregon and California, and where I became pretty much a full-time trimmer. And work ethic and attitude got me an invitation to be to step up to like a small startup crew, basically like a cooperative in Northern California, where I came back and I eventually would run a pretty a 1/4 acre farm and ran the whole the cultivation, processing, and then a little bit of the distribution. And so through this process, I learned a lot about the plant, about how to work with the plant, and then came back to New York State in 2018 and started planting hemp.
Nice. So prior to your entry in the West Coast market, what was your background like with cannabis?
Bought my first bag of weed in 8th grade from someone in school, been pretty actively connected to the plant and the industry since, an early teen, and have always, worked with the plant as medicine. I've carried the plant as someone who likes to share it with others. And so, yeah, it's been a long journey.
That's awesome. And here you are now running a CBD organization in a state that finally just went legal.
Yeah, that's right.
What a transformation.
Truly.
So in your time in the industry, what have you seen that is really exciting to you right now?
I am definitely, just the fact that the market is opening up is exciting in itself. The ability for home grow, I think that's something that's super exciting for me. Like I always want to grow the plant, not necessarily for a production purpose, but just it's such an incredible plant to work with. So the ability to have that option at home is really awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely excited for in New York State, like consumption sites and the craft industry. I think there's just going to be a really strong, small scale, like high quality boutique industry across this state in particular. And that's super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the legalization in New York really lends itself well to that small business side of cannabis, the same way the state kind of promotes small businesses in wineries, distilleries, and breweries.
Mm-hmm.
On the opposite side of that, as you've spent a lot of time in the industry, what's something that you've seen that you are not a fan of or you think needs to change?
Yeah, I'm really concerned about the large scale production. First and foremost, it's incredibly unsustainable. Secondarily, it drives down market price. And it makes it very much a very uncompetitive market. And I think there's the fact that there's a very strong existing cannabis ecosystem in New York State right now. I don't believe it necessarily needs to be replaced, but it's something that, my questions around integration, making sure folks who have been working with the plant for some time also have a seat at the table, not just these, multinational companies. That's pretty scary.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we see a pretty big dichotomy in the industry between people who just want to come in where it's legal, where it's new, and kind of sweep the market, and the people who care about the plant and are in tune with the plant and are there for the plant.
That's real.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we get to watch this unfold in real time in New York, and unfortunately, it's not unfolding as quickly as we would have liked it to. But we are finally starting to see progress, and it's nice to see, that home grow for medical is finally available for people. That's huge.
It's so huge. It's awesome.
So Flower City is based in Rochester, as am I. Fun fact for anybody watching this. So I know that your name and even your logo is really kind of centered around Rochester and a play on our history as a flower city. So talk to me about how working in Rochester or starting in Rochester has influenced your company.
Yeah, I mean, I'm third generation entrepreneur, based and born out of Rochester, New York, first and foremost. And yeah, this is very much a city that has brought a lot of creativity to surface, whether it's through the arts, through its culture, through its progressive, and social movements, as well as its industry. I think that's something that I really consider deeply. And yeah, I'm not the only person who has a cannabis company. It's called Flower City something, I think it's obviously a good play on words, and we did our branding a little bit differently, but yeah, for me, Flower City, anyone who lives in Rochester knows that by its name, but most folks outside of the city don't know that this city by that name. And so there is, from a branding perspective, there's the potential for something that carries far beyond just the proximity of the city, that can help put this city on the map, especially if we're focusing on local regional production and distribution out of this town. So, definitely a lot of different influences that have come together, but I do think, again, our logo, in particular, the way we've worked with this logo and the name is something that can carry in any city across this country, let alone in this state. And I think that's something we're going to work really hard to leverage.
Yeah, absolutely. So through Flower City, how are you pushing for social equity, diversity, and inclusion in the industry?
Yeah, we are fortunate enough to have a pretty diverse group of friends, and in turn, folks that we're working with and employed. Our team is predominantly women-based. We have a lot of people of color on our team, and continuing to grow that in that direction. So just from a folks who we're employing off the bat, falls into those categories of equity and diversity, which I'm just super grateful to be able to lift. And again, it's a reflection of our community, and that's what we're trying to build. Secondarily, on a more granular level, equity means a piece of the pie. It means sharing. So we're trying to build out our platform, our business model to have a healthy, a robust employee equity program. Because I want the folks who are helping me build this business to be folks who are going to benefit long-term. And beyond that, we're committed to doing at least $1 per product sold at retail to go back to community reinvestment, as well as putting on events and competitions that are all raising money for community give back. So it's really a cornerstone of what we're doing as a business and how we're trying to carry ourselves. And it comes naturally in many ways. And also we have to be up front and really pushing the rest of the industry to kind of meet us in step there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit more about the competitions that you guys are hosting to raise money?
Yeah, last year we put on the first Flower City Cup, where we raised $6,000 through donations, through contributions for submitting your flower. Focus purely on CBD and CBG dominant varietals last year. We had 25 farms. Sorry if there's is it super loud in the background?
No, you're fine.
Okay, cool. We had 25 farms from across the state submit over 50 submissions. We did an awesome People's Choice judging kit where we sent out 40. We sent the top 20 strains out to 40 People's Choice judges, as well as 10 industry judges, and we just got everyone graded. We did a live grading competition. It was super fun. And we were able to get a bunch of stats on what flower ranked best in nose, visual, etc. And through that process, again, we were able to raise $6,000 for community give back, giving to Rock Food Relief, which is a local not-for-profit that is all about food distribution to those in need. And the Flower City Noir Collective, which is focused on youth empowerment across the city and just doing incredible work. And then the Massachusetts Avenue Project, which is also empowering youth through educational opportunities and hands-on experiences in with a urban farm in Buffalo. So it's pretty awesome organizations to support, give them each a $2,000 check, jumbo check. It was fun. And yeah, we're doing that again this year. And this year we're actually doing it with THC. There will be no financial transactions for THC, so it doesn't cost any money to put it in to the competition, and we're not going to sell any THC. Sorry, that's super loud for me. I got to close the door. And yeah, we're going to do it a little bit differently this year, where we're going to take the grading process on the road and do a bunch of pop-up parties post, early New Year, and where we'll have folks be able to come do kind of a grading experience to help filter down to the top 10 for the what we'll then send back out for these judging kits. So we're going to do like some hands-on experiential, like buffet style grading. We're going to do the judging kits, and then it's all going to culminate in a big party in April, and that'll be the Flower City Cup finals, where we'll announce the winners, most likely a bunch of vending and good music. So it's all kind of compounding to this goal of raising $20,000 for community give back this year. So the goal is to support small farms, craft industry cultivators, legacy market cultivators, talk about the value of hemp flower, of cannabis flower in general, to both cultivators as well as to the consumer, and then raise money while we're doing it for initiatives we believe in.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You guys it's really in your bones to be invested in the community and giving back to these organizations that are your neighbors.
Truly.
So you touched on earlier not being a fan of the large corporate scale farming because it's not sustainable. So how does sustainability factor into Flower City?
So it's incredibly difficult. There's no such thing as sustainability. We cannot sustain the levels of consumption that this world is operating under. Most industries are not sustainable, even if they're green. And there's a lot of greenwashing and sustainability washing. And really the option for a better tomorrow is regenerative practices. And that's environmental, social, economic, et cetera. And so at the very bones, what we've been doing from a cultivation perspective, we work on a regenerative farm. It's all no-till, low-till, like we're always using cover crops. We're rotating our cultivation in our raised beds. And so truly like an impeccable form of agriculture that is cutting edge and is something that, people talk about sustainability, but our partner farm, Growing Family Farms, is really pushing the edge of what that actually means. And so to cultivate in that system, small scale, hand planted, hand harvested, all those things contribute to more of a regenerative cycle and less waste throughout the process, higher quality, of course. And then we were intentional, for example, of like in our boxes, sourcing from a high quality manufacturer, and then making sure that our product is recyclable, making sure that it's compostable as an option. But then there's some stuff like, for example, like Mylar bags, like definitely not sustainable. But what's the option? Putting it in glass, possibility, yeah. But understanding what we're even allowed to do is kind of what we've been waiting on. So there's places where I think we were really pushing the edge of what like regenerative looks like, what sustainability looks like, and really focusing on, again, like sun grown, soil grown. If we're looking to get into indoor, then it's really emphasis on small scale LED production, offsetting through carbon emissions, either purchasing off, some kind of carbon credit exchange, or, being dialed into a place that does hydroelectric and or solar. So really, we're asking those questions sincerely. And when it comes to packaging, especially plastic, like there's not really any such thing there's no sustainability there. And until we have an abundance of affordable options, us as a small business, we got to deal with what we can deal with and keep like doing whatever we can to, as we develop market share, to then, leverage and kind of influence distributors to offer more affordable options.
Yeah, I've heard that before, what you said. There is no such thing as sustainable. There is only regenerative from here on out. And I think it's a really important point to make, because the cannabis industry is not exempt from the greenwashing practices we see a lot of other places.
100%. And it's going to be so even more, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse as the industry grows, because the big corporations really don't have any interest in sustainability or regeneration, just profit.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're growing large scale indoor cultivation out of cocoa coir, even soil, it's like it's not a living system. It's it's monocropping indoors under lighting systems that you can maybe reduce your watts or your the consumption, the energy consumption there, but it's still it's still a lot on the system that supports it.
Yeah, definitely. So since you started Flower City, what is the biggest challenge that you guys have overcome?
Oh Lord, surviving.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, my goal coming into this industry was not to be a CBD company, but to be a cannabis company in general. And we can work with CBD, we can work with CBG and other minor cannabinoids. But the reality is there's a pretty saturated CBD market right now. But most of that's because it's been flooded with out-of-state, low quality, in some cases low regulated, but in turn, definitely just low quality, low cost product that's coming from mass produced farms out in Oregon and Colorado, Nevada, et cetera, whether that be raw flower or tinctures, et cetera. So there's this kind of there was this big boom and so much product hit shelves, and so much of it's not moving because one, it's not consistent, it's not quality, doesn't taste good, it's not local, et cetera. The price isn't right. And so knowing that, we entered the market offering the highest quality product at the most competitive price besides one of the biggest companies in the country. Knowing that this is medicine that we carry, we want it to be affordable to our community. But yeah, so there's been millions and millions of dollars of advertising and marketing for CBD, but now it's disrupting and kind of capturing part of that market share to talk about what craft cannabis is: small scale, local, regional, high quality product. So disrupting the supply chain has been challenging, but once folks really do know that we have an incredible product, then it's easy. It's just getting in front of the right people and helping them break the habits of buying from XYZ that's growing out of state or produced out of state.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been to a lot of CBD shops in Rochester and tried product and really not been impressed, because with CBD flower, if it's not local, if it's not well preserved, it's not very effective. It just it feels like you're smoking nothing. And it wasn't until I started to try your flower and I realized what locally grown CBD could be like, that I stopped going to these shops that were like, oh yeah, it's Massachusetts or it's Vermont, might be Connecticut, we don't really know.
Yep. Yeah, it. Yeah, and there's so much to be said about the way it was grown, the way it was harvested, the way it was cured, processed, and yeah, it goes a long way once there's intentional, it's intentional and there's quality that's assured through that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So surviving is obviously an accomplishment, particularly over the last couple of years that we've had, because they've been very volatile.
Totally crazy.
So what's something that you're really proud of that you don't get to share a lot?
I'm proud of the team that we've been training. Like I said, it's really diverse, awesome, eclectic group of people. We've been able to pay livable wages through this whole process, and that's fucking huge. We have great relationships with our farms, we have great relationships with the community that we're supporting. And yeah, just the feedback we've gotten from customers is just people are love this product. And it really is medicine. And I think that's something that I am proud of, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a great product. So when somebody comes to you for the first time to try CBD, what do you want them to take away from an experience with Flower City?
Quality goes all the way back to the seed, and that this whole process of cultivation and processing, et cetera, there is there's a different level. The plant responds to touch, the plant responds to being loved. And I think you can really experience that in our product, that plants that have been caretaken in a living soil system, like all these inputs that make our product a differentiator is like, it shows up in the end plant. So and I also think it's great for people to know that like I literally planted every single one of those plants, and I probably harvested every single one of those plants with a small crew. And that level of like intimacy and quality control makes sure I know exactly what you're getting every single time. And most likely I'm either, it's like we have a small crew that's been helping with trimming, but it's like I'm trimming alongside them. I'm seeing what product is going into these bags, and that level of quality control is like, it goes a really long way when it comes to like people getting the best that they can get.
Yeah, it definitely does. It makes a big difference. So now that New York has finally legalized recreational THC, what do you see happening in our market over the next couple of years?
I mean, it's gonna be crazy. I think we're gonna see the illicit market boom. The unregulated market's gonna continue to boom, and I think that it's gonna be a pretty painfully slow start to adult use unless there's some proactive engagement with like the farming and legacy market community. If we can get some preemptive licensing just to open the market, if we can be a little more, let's say, loose on our compliance requirements, whether that be like not quality control, but like that you can only process if you have a GMP certified facility. Like there's all these huge overheads that are going to like really make it hard for people to get in this industry. And so I do see that it's going to be kind of a slow start to market. I'm curious to see when, we're probably a year out before we actually can begin the licensing process on the early side. Hopefully we see the regulations within the next 6 months, and then there's going to be a comment period, then they'll be adjusting the regulations, then a comment period, and then maybe licensing. So I think the next couple of years are going to be crazy. I think like there's going to be more and more cannabis available. I think there's going to be more and more out-of-state cannabis available, as well as in-state cannabis available to consumers. And I think, we're going to see a boom in demand for flower. I think we're going to start seeing some really high quality extracts coming out. And the lounges, the delivery, all these things are going to keep on booming and making it, just so much more tangible. And I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, it's going to be good once it finally gets going. It's just getting to the point where we can use those delivery services and those consumption lounges.
Yep.
It'll be a long wait.
Totally. And I do think we'll see things like there's a good chance that places like consumption lounges, they may not be able to sell, but like they may have early access like to open. And we will see though. We're all waiting patiently or impatiently.
As patiently as we possibly can.
Truly.
So what is next for you in Flower City in 2022?
Survive.
Keep it going.
Keep it going. Continue to drop new products. We're having fun building out our merchandise and like just making stuff like high quality products that people want, and like continuing to tell the story, continuing to dial in our processes, our quality, our genetics, and really beginning to find a way to prepare for adult use while building out this more like wellness side of things of CBD and CBG dominant products.
Makes sense. Well, this has been really great. I've enjoyed talking to you. I just have one more question for you today.
Great.
What is your favorite fun fact about cannabis?
Favorite fun fact about cannabis? That it's amazing, and that's a fact. I think, some of the fun facts about cannabis, the amount of cellulose that can be extracted from an acre of fiber cannabis and or carbon in general is so substantial compared to that of a tree, an acre of trees. And that is something that would highly disrupt the paper market. That's something that would absolutely could be leveraged for carbon sequestration on a large scale. And those are fun facts that I really enjoy about cannabis. And I also love that the fact that the cannabis seed is a superfood, 30+% protein, really healthy balance of omega-3, 6 fatty acids. And that's also amazing.
Yeah, Absolutely. And you are 100% right about hemp disrupting the paper market. I know of a couple companies working on that right now. It's going to be big when they finally get the manufacturing they need.
Yeah, you know it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, Jessica, appreciate you. Thank you so much.